Hey, Breck,
Yes, Spencer?
have you seen The Penguin?
No, I don't know who that is.
No, it's a show.
They made a show about the bird.
But I don't. How do you cut to the episode? Anyway, we watched The Penguin. It is not about a bird. It's about a guy who's named after a bird, and he really does not like to hear his named after that bird.
He does not like to be called a penguin. Let me tell you that.
Let me tell you one thing about the penguin.
You
He
call him
does
the
not
penguin,
like to be called a penguin.
he beats the shit out of you.
He maybe even shoots you with a
He
gun.
kills you dead.
Oh no. This show is incredible. Is that safe to say?
It's safe to say that it's one of the best shows that has come out in a while.
This year for sure.
If not just like it's one of the best pieces of superhero media to come out in a while, if not one of the best TV shows to come out in a while.
Yeah, I rolled my eyes so hard at the announcement of this. I am really like sick of the like
tie-in culture.
Yeah, everything has to spawn 4 other things that are like never quite as good, and it like the we're gonna make a bunch of shows about the villains, just like kind of Sony's doing with Venom, which I enjoy the Venom movies, and Morbius, which is a different thing. And,
Shut up, Venom.
Venom Nation, rise up. I'm a little the boys having a bunch of spin-off. It's like I'm good. I'm ready for there just to be a movie trilogy. That's a movie trilogy.
And you're like, cool, bye guys.
Right, like Dune had a spin-off that apparently is not quite great. The first episode, I haven't watched it yet, but regardless, I'm a little done with that. So whenever they announced that they're doing a Penguin show, I was hyper skeptical. Where were you at?
I don't even remember when they announced it. I just know I was like, oh, we don't need that. Like, I remember being like, but I just really loved the movie. I don't need to know what the Penguin is up to.
Yeah, you're like, okay, so look, the Penguin is a great character in many iterations of this character. I mean, this is the most like gangster we've ever had the Penguin. He's usually he's like usually portrayed as more mob, and this is about a gangster becoming a mobster.
Yes.
If that makes any sense at all.
He's usually much more of a like, hey, I'm a goofy guy and I'm the Penguin and this is like, if you ever even fucking disrespect me like that again, I'll shoot you. You know, like
Was that your Tony Soprano?
It was a really bad one, but yeah. Can't help it.
Anyway, it's okay. That's a good place to start. Is the like level of silliness that comic book media outside of comic books are allowed to be.
Which we're losing the silliness.
Oh, we've lost the silliness, which is kind of like I am a little tired of that as well. I'm a little tired of like the hyper realism we put in as like the Dark Knight and even the Batman in a lot of ways, even though that movie's hilarious and has him jumping out of like plumes of fire in a car and cars flip 100 times and no one's even hurt.
Yeah, and it works for the Batman because the heart is still there and the emotion.
The heart is still there, and there's still scenes where a guy's blowing up an entire roof and flying in, making the symbol and fire.
Sick as hell.
It's awesome. Like, it works. I was like, oh my, it's going to be this hyper realistic kind of weird thing where they're doing, it's like, totally works.
Totally works.
But
it's shocking how much this show works.
Yeah. Ethan and I, a friend of the podcast, Ethan, every week we would kind of have a little like, little chat about it, about the episode. And we'd always be like, I'm waiting for it to lose steam. I'm waiting for it to like turn that corner and not quite be as good. And it remains great. And I think that's a testament to Matt Reeves, for sure.
For sure.
But what is the showrunner's name?
Lauren. It's Lauren something.
You talk about things you like about the Penguin.
So I kind of like my framing for the Penguin. I can't even really think he was not a villain in much of the Batman stuff that I had previously taken in. The only time I really had seen the Penguin was in Batman Returns, which the Alamo Drafthouse shows every Christmas because it's a Christmas movie. Amen. And that, of course, is the Tim Burton version, and so he's like this hyper silly, hyper gross, like literal penguin.
Literally just Danny DeVito. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's crazy. What?
It's literally just Danny DeVito. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My apologies, Mr. DeVito. Please come on the podcast.
I would love that.
But so I really had only ever experienced the Penguin as like silly goofy guy, like
over the top, literal animal.
And yeah, so and I guess I had seen that maybe a couple months after, you know, I'd seen the Batman. So it was like I have these two different versions of the Penguin, and I was like, well, I like the Penguin and the Batman, but I don't know. I guess I was more comfortable, I guess, with the idea of like over the top goofy Penguin, and this is like
so not that. I mean, he's the funniest character in the Batman. You know what I mean? Like,
what are you showing me?
Come on! No hablo español, fellas.
I can't tell you guys how many
So
times
funny.
Spencer and I just walk around the house saying that to each other since the Penguin has been on.
So
at the end
funny.
of every episode, it's us just parroting the Penguin and then going, "We need to watch the Batman tonight." And
then the cycle repeats weekly.
Precisely.
No, it's her name. The executive producer, the showrunner of the show is Lauren LaFranc, I believe how you spell it.
Cool. Shout out to you.
Unbelievable. She's apparently this is her first like showrunner job. She's been writing on TV for a long time, but apparently it's her first like actual this is her show thing. And people have been giving Matt Reeves the credit, and I look, rightfully so. Matt Reeves, the genius, he created this version of this world. She just played in that sandbox so well and deserves all the credit for what made this show so brilliant, which is the fact that it is so damn human.
It is so like it is uncomfortably human at times where there are moments in this show where I was like, I feel like I need to look away. Like, I'm not sure I want to be looking at this right now.
Well, it's also so mature.
100%.
You know, it's like, I was shocked at how far they went. I mean, it's very violent.
Yes.
It's very, like, is there nudity?
I think there's maybe a little.
They flirt with nudity.
They flirt with nudity, but it's not sexually explicit.
No,
in any way.
You're not seeing a penis.
No, there's no boobies involved here.
No, but it's still one of those things where you're just like watching. You're like, oh, this is dealing heavily with sex workers and like
yes, and the things that they have to do to survive, and it so perfectly tackles the real life problems that any major city in America or across the world has, and that's why I think it works so well is because it's so perfectly marrying the idea of like, I want superhero stuff to look like the real world and still keeping what we like about superhero stories.
Yeah, I mean the city is still like parts of it are literally destroyed and it's just rubble all over the you know what I mean?
Which
like,
is so great.
Crown Point, that's what it was called.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is so great that they weren't just like, let's hand wave in the Batman 2 about how
let's
this
do
all
a big
gets fixed.
time jump or some
There's
some
no
bullshit.
way to do that in this. Like the main character, like Vic.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. No spoilers
Huge
yet.
Spoiler alert for everything that involves the Penguin for this episode, obviously.
Yeah.
But like he sees his entire family get swept away when the Riddler bombs the seawall.
Yeah, and you just watch it in this like crazy flashback.
And it reminds me a lot of, and might sound weird, but it reminds me a lot of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, where it's just kind of like everything is crazy because no one knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Like the seawalls have blown, like everything. Like they bring in enough realism for it to make sense and also still flirt with like, and here's this magical drug we made out of mushrooms. These like red things that mushrooms ooze, and you're like, sure, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
bliss.
Which is such a cool name.
Well,
for
it's such a
fake
cool
drug.
name, and I love that he like it heavily. I mean, it doesn't even heavily. It just says that he just made it up on the spot because he was like, it's called bliss, and you're like,
what?
Y'all didn't discuss this. You didn't discuss the branding of this at all. Like,
it's a top 5 fake drug name of all time for me, up there with Jingle Jangle from Riverdale.
But it's funny. Bliss is also the drug from Far Cry 5. It's the thing that they pump everyone full of to make them all like weird and culty.
Oh, I know that. Look,
really
what a fun serendipitous moment for you in your time of replaying Far Cry 5.
For like the 3rd or 4th time.
I
love that game. Anyway, this is a show starring people. And I think we should talk about those people.
Colin Farrell.
Let's just start with Colin Farrell.
The man that you are, Colin Farrell, who I was forgetting was in this show. And then I see his name and be like, who? Whoa.
The makeup is maybe the best I've ever seen.
Yes.
Where you the actor is so fully and completely buried in it in a way that isn't like he doesn't have to fight it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's not fighting to act through the makeup. It's
such a part of it.
Yes.
Like the scar on his face, but just everything about him. Like you look at this version of this Oswald Cobb instead of Cobblepot, which
whatever.
A lot of controversy there. That's part of the silliness question mark, but like guys, it's a name. Who cares? He's still, by the end, he's still wearing the fucking like
He's still
piano
wearing,
coat.
and the gold vest.
Yeah, it's
and
like, who cares? He's driving a plum Maserati everywhere. Like, I'm not too
so
worried
awesome.
about this.
Like,
oh, yeah, it's great.
At least they let him still be Oz.
Yeah.
You know?
But
Like,
the thing is, he's so good. He's giving sometimes big performances like this kind of feel a little one note.
Agree.
But man, he is varied. That scene after, spoiler alert, officially the whole episode we're talking about, scene after Vic kills the guy he knew, the drug dealer he knew, and he just gets all quiet. He's like, it gets easier. And you're like, what the fuck did you just tell this kid?
like, sorry, what?
But
What do
the
you
way he
mean?
plays it so lovingly.
Yeah.
Like,
it's very like older brother, younger brother, father
Yes.
figure, son figure of like, it's okay, buddy. Like,
it's so good.
It was tough, but you made
it's
it.
so dark and it's so interesting.
And you're like, well, what if we didn't say that to him about like killing people?
Yeah, it's but the way he plays everything. I mean, the moments with his mom. I mean, speaking of his mom,
that actress is phenomenal.
we're gonna look up her name because we're gonna talk about her too.
Yes.
So keep talking about Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell are like, and it's also because there's so much interiority. Like, I never feel like we're watching the Penguin say everything he's thinking, and we're not seeing the Penguin. Do you know what I mean? Like, it feels like a very layered performance.
Oh,
in
he
a way
feels like
that
a
you
person
could,
making choices.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like,
which again, when you're playing, quote unquote, playing with the action figures of things like this, where you're using them as storytelling devices, it can, that kind of thing can get lost in the mix. But I think, especially in the whole Matt Reeves verse of characters, that is taken very seriously, and it continues through to the show.
Well, yeah, it's like in the Batman, Penguin is. He's just he's a 2-bit guy, but there's still that scene where he's like, Batman slammed him against the window, and he's like, take it easy, don't you know my reputation? And Batman's like, yeah, do you?
Oh.
And you're like,
got his ass.
Whoa! And then you just see this look of like he. Oh, it's so good. This this reverting back into this thing, but still. Oh my God, it's so good.
That, and then in the Batman when he's coming out after they're arresting Carmine, and he's like,
yeah,
you were the rat.
He's like, enjoy your night in Blackgate, Carmine. Might be your last.
And you're like, whoa. Like,
it's so, and the movie takes such a big beat to like show the Penguin in Carmine's facility.
So
like,
cool.
it's so good. It knows what it has with him. But anyway, he is unreal. I want to briefly talk about the video that's come out of him talking with his normal voice in the Penguin outfit, and it makes me sick.
I haven't seen that.
We'll find it. They might have taken it down, but we'll find it. But it is one of the craziest things ever, where it's like all of a sudden you're slapped in the face with the fact that this is an actor, not a... It's so insane.
It's so insane.
Find that video. It is nuts. It makes me uncomfy in my stomach.
He also had to sit through, they said, 4 hours of makeup every
Oh
day?
yeah, he said that was... He's like I'm gonna miss this. I'm not gonna miss the suit because I would
that's
either.
Like 3 to 4 hours of makeup a day plus an 8-hour shoot. So
yeah, well, and
that's a long day.
And he's like a slim dude, so he's wearing this big like heavy suit to be heavier set. And
I saw. What did I see? I think I saw a video of him getting interviewed with Kristen Milioti, who we will be discussing.
Oh, Kristen.
And he was like, "Oh my God!" Like he said that they had everywhere he would have to rest. Like between takes that they would be like, okay, cut. And he would have to like literally waddle all the way back to his little tent that they left like right off to the side and like sit there with the fan. And there were like 10 fans in there blowing because he was so hot in it. Like and then you can tell it's a physical performance. It's a physical performance that we don't often get in that kind of muted way. Like usually we think of big physical performances. We don't think of these like subtle, which also to segue, Kristen Milioti is doing some insane physical space work.
Oh, talk about eye acting.
Talk about like, I've been rehabilitated.
Best blinking in anything
it's
in
so
years.
Great, and
she plays the Kristen Milioti. I've been a huge fan of from back. Like I've seen How I Met Your Mother. There's a movie called Sleepwalk with Me, the Mike Birbiglia movie.
Obviously, Palm
Springs.
The best movie, one of the best rom-coms of the last 10 years.
Truly, if not the best. You know,
Period.
it's just one of my favorite movies. I am a huge fan of her. So when they announced her, I was like, that is so different than the comic book version of this character, and it's so perfect. She's gonna kill it.
Sophia in the comics is like, whoa.
Yeah, she's
that
like,
is not Kristen Milioti.
no, but the way they do her, right? Like, she's this tragic figure, and she's doing awful things. Don't get me wrong, but also there's this little part of you that's like good for her.
Good
like,
for her.
She shows up and steals literally every single scene that she's in. I can't think of a single scene where she's like quote unquote beat. You know what I mean?
I can't think of a single scene where I wasn't like tracking her on the screen with my eyes.
Yeah.
Like
her
Cocomelon.
outfits, her like the way she carries herself, the way she plays
styling is so phenomenal.
Yeah. The scars, like at the beginning, she's usually wrapped up in some kind of coat, so you don't see this like massive. She literally parts where she's covering her neck because you don't see this massive scar tissue she's built up. And then by the end, she's like, "Fuck all of these men. I'm whatever," and she just completely changes.
And
it's
she's
so
wearing
good.
all these really like. And I watched a video, and it was from Lauren, the showrunner, and then I believe either the makeup designer or the costume. And it was them talking about how important, like maybe it was we were watching the little after part after the episodes, but they were talking about how important her styling was. Like that yellow dress is her reclaiming, like, look to her family, like, this is what you did to me. You can try and deny any of the mental things all you want, but this is what physically occurred to me at the very least.
Yeah.
And they were also talking about how important like her mullet is and how it flies in the face, especially when we see her in the flashback episode where she's got her little like side swoopy bangs and her high ponytail and she's all very like prim, proper, like Italian American, like princess, like everything is super like dainty and blah blah, like, and which it's such an underrated part of production design to me and the overall, I guess, set piece of like of a body of fiction, is because it's what makes people feel more lived in, and you're seeing her make these choices. But like that insane dress she's wearing when she's confronting Oz with his mom, where it's like the red scarf that's all over the place and her high-heeled boots and the dress, like it's just phenomenal. But they were like, oh, like the significance of this is like she doesn't want to put her hair up anymore. Yeah. She's been traumatized by Arkham. She doesn't want long hair anymore. And she's like, and it's this like punk rock ass haircut that like is just this big middle finger to everyone who ever wanted her to be a certain way. And I just love it. I'm obsessed.
It's great.
I'm obsessed with her. Sofia Gigante forever.
To me, yeah, she's the best. Like by the end of the show, I'm like, fuck you, Penguin. She should have won.
Which fuck you, Penguin, for so many reasons.
Which is what the show wants us to think, by the way. Like it's intending that.
It's the fact that Sophia does all of that, and spoiler alert, ends up back in Arkham. I was like, she should burn that man alive.
That's maybe the best reversal in the entire show. Yes. Is like the she's given her last little moment and she's not gonna bow her. You know what I mean? All these things, and then the lights come on, and I literally like gasped. I was like, dude, no, he didn't do this to her. Like so infuriating.
For the second, he learned zero lessons from the first time, except for like, I can get Sophia to go away by trapping her.
Yeah. He gets everything to go away. He creates a narrative. That's something I love that this movie does. Like plays with the politician and sets the politics of Gotham and sets him up.
Yes.
Sets Penguin up as a character trying to get into politics.
Yes.
Trying to rise up even above his station more.
Fingers crossed is so perfectly going to tie into some Harvey Dent. Everybody say praise.
Yeah. I think it's very unlikely Harvey Dent will not play some part in the sequel. Oh yeah,
especially because like you said, like he literally waltzes into City Hall in the last episode and is like, I could be in here someday, you know?
People think that might have to do with like the Court of Owls, which I also think would be great.
Because like the curtains look like owls in that scene.
The curtains look like owls, but also it's in a courtroom, and so people are like, oh, I think they're hinting, because I mean that's what this series is about, from the Batman to the Penguin. So for the through line has just been corruption.
Yeah.
Right? Like corruption, what it does to you internally, what it does to individuals, what it does systemically, what it does to masses. Like it's very much about that. And I think the next one will play a lot more into like Batman thinks he's unrooted a bunch of the corruption. It just goes deeper. Yeah. Like Gotham has no bedrock. You know what I mean? It just will continue to sink forever.
You cut off one head, 3 more sprout in its place.
Yeah. Is it 3 more?
It's like a Hydra. Isn't that the thing?
2.
I thought it was 3.
No, it's 2. We're gonna show Breck Hercules later.
All right. Fair enough.
Anyway, Kristen Milioti, just to sum that up, shows up and owns literally every scene that she's in.
She's just, I think I said like 20 times an episode, she's just so cool.
Yeah.
Which Spencer can attest to. Like just genuinely, she would just appear and I'd be like, God, you're awesome.
I know. Vic. Let's talk about Vic.
I don't want to.
I know. Vic was like, I loved him so much. This show knew exactly what it was doing
100%.
in a way that I feel manipulated by, but in the story should do this.
Yay. I love when a story manipulates me.
Vic's arc is so good, and he plays him so well. Like, he's one of those characters you just want to put in your pocket and protect forever.
And it so perfectly mirrors this kind of like real life thing that happens every day of a poor kid, and something terrible happens and his community is unmoored and he gets picked up and sucked into a life of crime that he is just like, and it's the only thing available to him.
Yeah, like, he's unequipped entirely to deal with this.
Yes.
And by the end, he is very equipped, and then something happens and you want to kill someone. There people have been posting all the clips of Batman beating the shit out of people from Arkham and throwing the Penguin around and stuff, and I'm like, yes, do that, Bruce.
Someone who was like, I saw a TikTok that was like, this guy logging in to play Arkham, and it's like me going to beat the shit out of the Penguin after finishing the show because I got to do it myself.
I don't think we should involve Batman. I think we should get the Punisher to take care of Penguin. Because it's that scene is so sad where he like takes his wallet and he takes the money to make it look like a robbery and throws his ID. So it's like they're not going to ID him.
Because the thing that Vic was most scared of was being a forgotten nobody that nobody cared about and nobody looked for, and then nobody is there to look for him.
Yeah.
Because he has no family and his girlfriend went across the country.
Yep. And he should have just gone with her and been happy. And it's unbelievably well written and well played. Well, see, and then the other thing, can't think. The other thing is the way he leaves his mom.
Yes.
How she was like, don't let this be what happens to me. And then at the end, he's doing it.
And
he's just shoved her in this like unfinished room. Look at this big overlay. He's like, you got exactly what you wanted, Mom. And she's literally where she didn't want to be. Like, it's so tragic.
Just like, it's kind of like...
And then he goes down and has his pretend mommy tell him he did a good job.
Which is like the scariest thing. Harrowing.
That bit and when that
harrowing
happened.
To realize how much all of a sudden his girlfriend has always looked like his mom. And you're like,
in this, it's literal. Like they're not playing in subtlety with that bit.
No, because you
sit
there and you're like, because I think both of you and I went, is this like a flashback? And then we realized we get closer and we're like, oh no, that's his sex worker girlfriend.
Yep.
Who he has dressed up in his mom's dress with a red wig on and telling him that he's her good boy. And you're like,
because at first you're like, okay, so they're showing us what this is. She's dressed like the mom. And then they just do it. They just say the thing. God, it's crazy.
It's like, and they're doing this like, what other piece of superhero media has the balls to be like Oedipus complex? Take it, except for like The Boys. But
but this one does it in like a real way. Where
this one doesn't do it in the like over the top, like we're having fun with this way. Well, it's doing it in the like I feel gross right now and I want to go home.
Let's talk about the girlfriend. I thought her character was fascinating. I think one of your favorite scenes and one of my favorite scenes is when Sophia goes to her.
That she was probably one of my favorite characters from the whole show because I don't know who that actress is, but she's phenomenal and I want to see her in so much more because her screen presence is like captivating. She has this very quiet, like
Carmen Ejogo, I think is her name.
Okay, because she also had a British accent or something when she talked. Which like, surprise British people.
Surprise, they're real. No, they're not.
Which happens with like every HBO show. That's how I felt watching Behind the Scenes of Mayor of Easttown, where I'm like, what do you mean you're all British?
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Just that scene with her and Sophia where they're having this like beautiful one-to-one of being women in this criminal world of just trying to scrape and survive and get by however you can and hanging on by your fingernails, which I think every woman in this country could relate to at this point in time.
What do you mean? I'm kidding. We're not going to get into it, but also
I'm looking in anyways. And it's just this beautiful thing also because you don't think that she's going like you're like is her girl like ratting her out and she's like no I told her to send you up.
Oh no, that's my favorite part of that scene. My favorite line of that scene is she was like none of them would give you up. Like, you know what I mean? The one that did was supposed to, and that, I think that impresses Sophia so much when she realizes that when she says that she's like I told her to,
because that's all Sophia's ever wanted is people to be loyal to her.
Yeah, genuinely loyal because you look out for one another.
Because you look out for exactly, and then Eve.
Yeah.
And her last name is like what? Like Clayface's last name also?
Yeah.
Which everyone's like, what about this? And I was like, which I think they will actually have Clayface at some point maybe. But if this
Clayface is in the DCU, the James Gunn side of it. He's in Creature Commandos, and that ties
fingers
in.
crossed for Mike Flanagan Clayface in the DCU, but we'll get into that later.
I don't actually know what Mike Flanagan's pitch was, but Mike Flanagan like famously has one. But yeah, for some reason she has the same name, but also, Vic. What's Vic's last name?
Look that up. But people were pointing that out because they were like, it's kind of really interesting if this is this universe's version of Aguilar. If it's this universe's version of Clayface, because she's literally a chameleon. Like she's like she becomes these different people for different men. And I was gonna say
that's true, but like,
which I would be disappointed, but you know.
Well,
but
look,
a trilogy can't have every single rogue from the Rogues Gallery.
Here's the thing: if they do Clayface, they're gonna do the original Clayface, who was a serial killer who wore a mask because of a face deformity.
Sure.
Like that's what they'll do, because it's been a rumor for a long time that Clayface is the villain of part 2. Amongst other villains, like as like a part.
Yeah, because I think they're going to do the 2-parter again. They're not going to just have, one
no.
guy. It'll be 2 lines, no waiting.
Penguin will be in part 2. They'll definitely have Harvey.
And I hope I see him get whatever.
I hope I see him get bones broken and limbs torn off.
I hope he's in a full body cast.
I know.
For months.
Well, I know. But that scene is just brilliant, right? I love that beat of like, none of them would give you up, and she's like, oh, and I love the ending too, where it's like, she's like, you deserve your shot, and she gives him up. It's so good.
And it's the fact that Sophia respects it still, because she's like, you're giving up the person you should give up.
Yeah.
You're not giving up someone who's looked out for you.
Every part of that conversation.
Every minute detail. Yeah. Sorry.
Every part of that conversation feels so genuine in a way that so much of the rest of the show doesn't. The rest of the show feels like people playing each other. But the parts of that conversation that feel so genuine are the parts where she's like, just don't hurt my girls. You know, where you feel that.
Where she's like, please, like, and it's a mother looking out for her children,
it's
of being
so
like,
good.
please don't hurt my girls. And Sophia's like, do you think I'm going to do that?
Well, because Oz never told her that he lied about the hangman
Which
shit.
is so, and the part that broke my heart more than anything is Sophia being like, Oz ever see this side of you? And she's like, a few times.
He didn't like it.
Oh,
God. Fuck you, Oswald. Okay, and then let's just talk about more on the fuck you, Oswald side. What he did with to his siblings.
Yes.
Dude,
oh my God. Like,
I was shocked at how far they took it.
One of the darkest things I have ever seen happen. And I don't mean to be like in superhero stuff, but like
just ever.
This show is just like insane.
It's so willing.
What other show is showing fratricide from a younger brother being like, anyways, I'm killing my older brother, my younger brother. Peace out. I like mom more than you guys.
Yeah, it's so willing to just be
and his
horrible. Oh, and the reversal where it's like you see the memory at 2 different points and realize what was really going on, and you're like, he's like, I'm the fucking hero, and she knew the whole time. Crazy.
And it's the fact that she was like, or I think maybe they said this in the little after part they have of all the episodes, which you guys should always watch those. They're always very full of interesting information about the show you just watched. When they were like, I don't think they did it to be mean to Oz. I think that's just a good hiding spot. And he was like, you guys know I can't go down here. And they were like, oh shit, our bad, bud. And then he's like, I'm actually going to kill you over this.
Yeah. Because he wants his mom to himself because he's got a fucking Oedipus
that
complex.
line when they're having that conversation, that's when Sophia's forcing the confrontation. She's like, I could have loved all of you. I had enough for all of you.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I'm going to die now, I think. Like,
which, especially now that we all know, like, once we got to that episode, it made all of the rain coming in during all of her like kind of like elsewhere moments so much scarier and more poignant because she never gets to move on. She sees the murderer of her other sons every single day.
Yeah, it's terrible. And I want to kill him.
Yeah.
I hate you, Oz.
But yeah. And then like, what's his name? Rex something.
Calabrese.
Rex Calabrese.
Calabrese, yeah.
And him being like,
I'll kill him for you.
Or you can use this loyalty as a weapon, which is another main theme of this show is loyalty as a weapon, loyalty as a tool.
Oh, for sure. Well, I think the show's about that, right? And it's also for like a bigger plot universe thing. It's so about the end of the mobster.
Yes.
And the ushering in of the supervillain.
100%.
Right? Where Oz is this like larger than life gangster. He's our way into that. But we still have in this universe, it's not in the movie, so maybe they could change it, but they've released the whole scene with Joker where he's like already been caught, becomes this like super villain evil person, you know
which
what I
is
mean?
such a natural like continuation
Yeah.
of the Batman, where the Batman is very much like textually the Riddler is like, and I'm getting rid of this.
Yeah.
Like which is also, you know, the Long Halloween, which is, you know, of course the main thing that this is the source material.
Yeah,
of.
for sure.
So it's, yeah, which is just, it's very fascinating, which also I think in a way mirrors what I think happened in comics. No, of like kind of, there was a lot more like gangster beaten up.
Kind of.
No? Okay.
It depends. It depends on which version, which era. Like every era used different things.
Which I'm
that's
sure
the thing
you
about
can.
that's the thing about comics.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a like one universe. It's like everything is affected a little bit by something else and inspired by other. It's like,
which I think you mentioned in last week's episode about My Hero Academia season 7 and My
Mm-hmm.
Hero the movie. You're next. Go watch and listen. But how you could probably track what society is worried about and thinking about
Mm-hmm.
by looking at any given era of comics, which is why I think it's really interesting that this is all happening now, because, you know, I would love to sit down and like really study. I'm like, so why are we worried about the transition from like quote unquote normal people villains to these kind of like over the top, like,
well, I think there's one pretty
caricatures?
specific reason.
Yeah.
And the American people, not us, not the people
me.
in this room, the
Not us.
American people decided to elect that as the president.
Yeah.
I think that's a big reason of why. Look, before we watched that happen, and then now the show is reflecting, or the stuff moving forward is going to now reflect on the fact that it happened again.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Anyway, not to get too
Anyways,
deep into all of that.
We shan't. This is a safe
we're
space
talking about a
to
show
think
called The
about
Penguin.
other things, but
Anyway,
you know, it would be remiss to say that the media that we try to look at doesn't reflect the things that we're going through. So
I mean, you look at movies before. I mean, we kind of said The Dark Knight is the one everyone goes to first, but like you look at like pre and post tragic, horrible events. Like they turn from like Joel Schumacher's Batman into The Dark Knight. You know, it's like it becomes this very different thing.
Which, you know, like it happens a lot too with music, which this is going to be a very quick side tangent, but that's the thing that was happening is like the 80s towards the tail end were this very prosperous time for the country. I won't get into anyways, but that's why grunge was born, is because there were these people who were like, okay, so if everything's supposed to be great, why am I still depressed? Like, why does everything still suck? Like, and then in the early 2000s, like we've gone through like the 2000s and like things are turning around, and then boom, recession hits.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, we're all sad and poor. Like, it's just, so it's this very interesting. Anyways,
everything
informs each other. Did you guys know that art is informed by the world you live in? Crazy.
Yeah. Let's talk about one issue I have with this show.
Go ahead.
They talk a lot about why Batman is not in it, and I all of those reasons.
Makes perfect sense.
My thing is, at a certain point in the show, bombs are going off and blowing up city blocks. And like, look, who's to say he's not there hanging out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe we're going to see, maybe part of Batman 2 will be him showing us what he was doing during that time, but I doubt it.
Possibly. So. I at a certain point when there's like full on firefights in streets, people are getting kidnapped.
Full on gang war.
The gang wars that are ending in a car or Salvatore Maroni breaking out of prison. It's like, Batman's not going to show up for those things. Like,
literally.
That is my one issue, specifically when the bomb went off and blew up that block, where you're kind of just like, I feel as though he would get involved.
Yes. I don't know why.
So a whole new drug hits the street, and he's not even going to chase that down.
He's just across town like, life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Like, I'm like, Bruce, what are we doing?
Yeah, that is.
You better be taking the fattest nap of your life, or you better be across the world with Ra's al Ghul right now, because
it's not where he's going to be, baby. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I know, but
the race stuff comes before he becomes Batman.
Oh, that's true.
So
okay, fair.
Anyway,
However, that shot, the last shot of the entire series with the bat signal coming on, hit like crack.
No, one of the best shots of it's like just the pan, and then it's getting go, and you're just like, oh, so we're so back,
when
dude.
When that light hits the sky, it's not just a signal; it's a warning.
It's not just a call; it's a warning.
It's been so long since we watched it.
That was a verbal tick for me for literally 7 months, where I was like, it's not just a call; it's a warning.
We haven't rewatched it in a while.
We had a Lego date and we watched the Batman.
If that tells you anything you guys need to know about our relationship.
Yeah. Movies.
Legos.
We don't really
And we
build
love
Legos. Yeah, that end shot sets us up for what is my most anticipated movie of the foreseeable future. Like,
it's not even coming out next year.
I know it's not. You know what it is though? Superman, and I'm very excited about that.
Point?
Apparently, Superman, the trailer for Superman, is coming out in mid-December. Some people think it'll be December 15th for the anniversary of Superman the movie.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So
I would have said they were waiting to do it for like Thanksgiving, like football, but.
No, I mean, maybe they could. I mean, that very well could be true. Some people think it's going to air with Mufasa when Mufasa comes out, which is like a huge bummer because like I don't think that movie's going to do that well.
No, and neither do we really want to see Mufasa. No offense, Barry Jenkins.
But I'll go see it for the Superman trailer. Anyway, I'm very excited about Superman, but the Batman Part 2 is like my fundamental, I need this in my veins immediately, please.
It will live at the moment is I must see the Batman Part 2 in October of 2026.
I know. God, it's so far away. It hasn't even started filming.
Is he finished?
No, apparently the script isn't done.
Can we get to that, sir?
Like, look, it's
what are we waiting on?
It's apparently going to film early next year, so hopefully lock in Greg Fraser versus DP.
Oh, that's right.
These are all just rumors. I just know.
How awesome of a DP do you have to be that people are trying to work around your schedule? Shout out my boy.
Like, he's so good. Like, the Penguin looks good. It does not look as good as the
There's
Batman.
a reason Sir Roger Deakins was like, that's the best looking movie of the year.
Because it was. Because it just was. Anyway. Yeah, so I'm hopeful about that, and I think that's good. Do we have other Penguin things we want to talk about? Do you want a season 2 of Penguin?
No.
I don't.
I don't want to see any more of the Penguin ever again, and that's not just because I'm mad at him. It's because I don't. If I hear about season 2 of the Penguin, I'm like, we've lost.
Yeah.
There was no point in season 1 of it. It is supposed to be a contained story, and you need to let things be contained stories.
And it's like I've heard they're discussing a season 2, and in my personal opinion, I think doing this as a miniseries is absolutely the right move.
100%.
I think going in again is exactly what you said. It's just like this needs to be a contained story, and that's it.
It is supposed to be the missing link between two movies. We don't need a season 2. We need you to focus on another movie.
We need you to continue his story in The Batman.
Which and I'm so glad that this show turned out amazing because it would have been really depressing if it sucked.
I know. I was nervous about it. I was so nervous of like the Batman is so good and it's so interesting and cool and just
and
fucking
this
great
lived up to it. There is like you said, there's pretty much only one major flaw we have with it, and it's really not even that.
I don't know if I'd say it's a major flaw. It's just for me, it's one of those things of like I know and I understand the reasons you didn't want to put him in there.
I was really holding out on at least a little cameo moment.
Well, I thought they would have Bruce in it in one way or another.
Which could have been really even more interesting than Batman showing up,
well, I thought for sure it would have been. Like, just a really interesting way to do that.
Because, so, they mentioned in The Batman that Falcone knew the Waynes.
Yeah, which
obviously.
is the famous thing from The Long Halloween.
He's like still looking down at me from the staircase, whatever. I don't remember this movie off the top of my head, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the story where he got shot and he had to go to his dad, to Thomas, and Bruce is looking down at him.
But I don't remember. Does he mention that Maroni also is like involved in that? Like, is Maroni also friends with his dad? Because because I would have been really interested in Bruce being reached out to by Maroni. I would have been really interested in that. I would have been really interested in Oz trying to make like a business play, like trying to be a big businessman, because clearly he thinks of himself as this businessman, as this entrepreneur, especially in that scene where they're trying to get Bliss out at the club, at the Iceberg Lounge. Like, very clearly Oz sees himself as this kind of like high roller, like
Wait,
I'm the
what
big.
Are you talking about the Iceberg Lounge?
Is it not when they have that scene where they're trying to show off like to
No, Iceberg Lounge is destroyed, baby.
Oh, duh. What am I talking?
It's just another
There's
club.
just another club. Well, anyways, in the club, like
back to the club.
So go back to the club. But yeah, that scene where they're in the club with the girls and they're spreading the drug around and everything.
Yeah.
Like, clearly Oz thinks of himself as this businessman, and I would have thought it would be really interesting for him to be like, "Good evening, Mr. Wayne. I heard you're the guy to talk to about deals," like.
Yeah, and like, look, that's not the Bruce we've seen so far, but it would have been a good way to show kind of Bruce's progression, where we're entering his mindset is, because I said for a while, it's like, I love that the Batman has him essentially be Bruce Wayne for like 4 scenes total.
Yeah.
In most of those, he's still just in the Batcave.
Yes.
I thought it would have been he was in the suit most of the movie. I thought this next one would be really, really cool to do 50-50.
Yeah.
Where he's Bruce Wayne a lot of the time. You know, he's having to reemerge and use his wealth and all that kind of thing.
Like Batman 1989, where they spend like 45 minutes where you're like, they kind of don't tell you that Bruce Wayne is Batman, which I think is hysterical to think of someone being like, whoa, that's the same guy. Just like person who's never heard of Batman before. Anyways. Like I would have thought, and Alfred's still in the hospital probably, isn't he?
Depending, I mean, it's 2 weeks, 2-week lapse, and then who knows how long it's been for Penguin to get the whole thing set up. Like, I have to imagine it took Penguin a while to build up the funds to get his new car.
I have to imagine
and
it's been that show takes place over 2 to 3 months.
Maybe, yeah. My guess is the next movie will take place like 2 weeks after the end of the Penguin.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Oh, I had another point here that I was definitely getting to, and now I don't remember it. Oh well. Any other Penguin thoughts? No, just we need to kill him.
Yeah, we need to kill that man.
We have to get rid of that man for Sophia and for Vic.
It's Barry in season 4 where he finds out Henry Winkler. What's Henry Winkler's character? I've seen that show 5 times. Mr. Cruz, he's like, I have to kill Mr. Cruz now. That's the same energy I feel. Where it's
I have to kill him.
I close my laptop and I just go, I have to kill the Penguin.
Yeah,
Anyway, we've talked a little bit. This is our B segment. A little fun look into the future.
Oh wait,
what's up?
I just remembered. We have to talk about Mark Strong.
Oh yeah, Mark. He's good,
and he's good. But I just think it's really funny that John Turturro was like, I thought that the script had too much violence against women in it. And I was like, my brother at Christ, you were in the Batman.
Yeah, you literally on screen choked someone out.
And oh my God, I completely forgot. We have to talk about Selena sending Sophia the note.
I want that. I don't want Selena in the Batman Part 2. And I
didn't know. I know you didn't want that.
Well, because I like the idea of these characters popping in and out of these movies. It's like just because what I want is I want her and Sophia to go have some kind of show. I don't know what that show would be.
2 pretty bitches having fun killing men.
Amen, dude. That's great.
Woo! Literally, that's all. I would be on my hands and knees. Yeah. Please, Warner Brothers. I want to see those 2 just causing mayhem, stealing, having fun, being hot, being cool.
I want a show about them.
Yes.
Like instead of Penguin 2, do the Falcons or do whatever. You know what I mean?
The Gigantes, please.
Yeah, but that doesn't apply to Sophia or to Selena.
Which I wish we would be able to see the note, but I love that we don't.
I also love that it's sent in a black envelope.
So awesome.
So awesome.
She's so cool.
Anyway, I don't want Selena. And if Selena is in number 2, it's not going to be a problem for me. I love that character. I love the dynamic the Bat and the Cat have for this one. I just think it'd be really interesting to not have her really isolate Bruce again. And then have her show back up in Part 3.
Yes.
And have her off doing a side quest to advance her character to send her back to Gotham.
Yes, it would be very interesting to see how she feels about Gotham after she's come back.
Yeah, and whatever journey she goes on.
Especially if... Well, go ahead. Go ahead with what you're going to say.
That was all I was going to say.
No, I mean about what this B segment is going to be.
Oh, the B segment is just us talking about maybe our villain's wish list for the sequel. Who we would like to see be the antagonists. So I think I will limit this. Each of us need to pick 3 that we really want to watch.
I was literally about to say I have a top 3.
Okay, top 3. Do your number 3.
Okay. Number 3, I think, is Scarecrow.
Okay. There's some Easter eggs to that.
There have been some Easter eggs to that about Sophia's therapist / boyfriend /
who is really another part of the show that does not work for me.
Yeah, he's weird.
It's not even the actor or anything.
No offense to him, but
it's just the character feels very
like, why are you here?
Pointless a little bit.
Yeah, why are you here?
It feels like they were going to do something else and then they changed it.
Which could be they were like, oh wait, we can't overplay our hand here yet. He might be Scarecrow. Even though I said this to Spencer, I would love Andrew Garfield Scarecrow in a way that is like not.
Yeah, that's really good. He
wouldn't
really
do it.
good.
I don't think.
I think he would.
You think?
He was in multiple Spider-Man movies.
I'm so dumb. I'm like, that's not the
You're
kind of movie
dumb.
he does.
Don't say that.
And I'm like, he was Spider-Man, Breck.
Yeah, I think he would.
Spider-Man like a couple years ago.
I think he would do it.
I think he would be a phenomenal. I think he would lend that kind of gravitas, and I think also Andrew Garfield can play like barely contained crazy really well.
And he's friends with Pattinson.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah,
get
they
some
were
hot
roommates
British
at one
dudes on the
point.
screen. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
I love that pick. That's a great
So
pick.
that's my number 3. What's your number 3?
This will never happen.
Mm-hmm.
I just want Man-Bat in a Batman movie so bad. I think there's a way you can do it where it's still pretty grounded, where it's Ethan and I have talked about this, where like Killer Croc you can also do in this same similar, where it's about a guy with like deformities.
Is Killer Croc your honorable mention?
Yeah, sure. I'd watch that, where it's the guy with like a skin disease, but the Man-Bat one could be another dude who's like lost his mind and he thinks he's like introduce the idea of a monster into these movies.
Yes.
Really cool to me. That's my honorable mention. It would be my number 1 if I thought it was at all likely that could happen.
Yeah.
But he's my number 3.
Plus, I mean, we've introduced drugs that make you feel. We've introduced all different kinds of substances to abuse in this universe. I feel like it's not entirely out of the question for a guy to be like in a lab somewhere and someone's testing a new drug on him and he's like, I am Man-Bat, and they're like, okay. Yeah,
he becomes crazy or something. Anyway, I which is why I'm glad about the Brave and the Bold, the DCU Batman, where it's a bit more mythical and large and cool. Anyway, Man-Bat, I love the idea of Batman fighting a monster. It's been a long time since we've watched that. Never really gotten to watch it in live action, so I think that's fun and cool and interesting.
Okay, so my number 2 is Harvey Dent, which I think is
very likely to happen.
Is incredibly likely.
Especially with the district attorney being dead in the first one.
Yeah. Just because he's one of my favorite Batman villains.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the most fascinating characters. I think he's a perfect foil to Bruce.
Have you seen the Batman the Animated Series 2-part episode with him?
I don't think so.
Is like nominated for an Emmy.
Oh, okay.
It's so because they make him and Bruce friends before the downfall,
which is the
way to do it.
Which is one of my favorite things about the Telltale Batman series, which I forgot to recommend last week in part of my superhero recommendations. But it's one of my favorite Batman things ever. I've had Spencer play the first season. He hasn't played the second season, so no spoilers. But I've played the whole thing. And Harvey in that is an incredibly fascinating character to me, because they've been portrayed as friends, like they know each other, they've been friends for a long time, but he knows that Bruce is a resource and starts treating Bruce like more and more of a resource because he has this innate jealousy of what Bruce has always had and what he perceives as Bruce's easy life, which obviously Bruce has an easy life, but he also has no parents and is tortured. I don't know if you guys know this. Batman's tortured.
Pretty tortured.
So I think there is a lot of meat to play with there. I think there's a big well to draw on in terms of a very interesting character that is maybe a fresher take or maybe something we haven't seen before, because obviously we just had Harvey Dent in the Dark Knight trilogy, which whatever. But yeah, I think there's a lot that you could do with him that hasn't been done before, and plus he's one of the most recognizable Batman villains, I think. Like, he's not like a condiment king, you know? Like,
hey, don't doubt on the condiment king.
That's me. That's my boy. I'm just
don't
saying.
Don't doubt on Kite Man.
No one thinks about either of those two.
Yeah, it's true. My number 2? Mr. Freeze.
Okay.
I want Mr. Freeze really bad.
Yeah.
That is the perfect blend of like over the top and also grounded.
Yes.
Because he doesn't need to have a freeze ray gun. He can use like grenades that blow up like hydrogen. What's the?
You're thinking of dry ice.
But there's the coolant freeze that they pump through to.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Whatever it's called, hydrogen, whatever the fuck it's called.
Comment down below.
I'm dumb and haven't watched Terminator.
You're
in a while.
not dumb.
Anyway, he can do those and it blows up and it freezes stuff, and you can do it like. And that's what brings Bruce back into the fold at Wayne Enterprises, where the Wayne Enterprises has like abandoned him and all his science, whatever. That's a great way into that, where like Bruce has to come in and investigate on that end of like, why is this guy doing this? And that's how he finds out through Wayne Enterprises, the thing he's abandoned and realized his own negligence is causing corruption.
Which I love as a thing that also ties through to this is like, I love that some of the consequences in the Batman are because Bruce has ignored anything but being Batman.
Yes. Well, exactly. And I think you could do a whole movie out of that, where he has to go back into Wayne Enterprises because he's realized this is Wayne Tech, and he's like, what's going on? And he realizes this, Victor Freeze, and Victor Fries as he is now.
Like realizing that he can't just be a hero in a costume.
He's got to take authority back to his company that is now corrupt,
which is an important part of any Batman story.
Yes.
Who would you like to be, Mr. Freeze? Out of curiosity, have you
I don't know. I for a long time was like Giancarlo Esposito would be fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah. a little too like the characters he has to play all the time now. In
Maybe.
my opinion,
Who knows? He could do it different.
it's true. It's true.
I don't know. That's kind of, I don't have a ton of fan castings for him.
I know. He's kind of a hard person to cast.
Yeah. Anyway, so I desperately want Mr. Freeze. I think that'd be a great villain to add to the mix. Anyway, what's your number one?
Well, I'm going to do my honorable mention of Poison Ivy, because I think that we would have to have a whole other movie in this trilogy to get to a point where we can comfortably insert her into this.
Keep going.
Comfortably insert her into this universe. Just because of the whole, like, I talk to plants thing. Yeah.
Well, you could do an eco-terrorist. She could just be
which would slay.
Which would be great for right now.
I think she would be a really cool, that's my honorable mention. I don't know.
She'd be great.
But my number one is Mr. Freeze.
Okay, well, understandable.
Just because everything you already said, and I think there's also a lot of evidence for that, because every single piece of promo art we've gotten for this movie is blue. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Well, there hasn't been any official. Those are all fan art, baby.
Oh.
Yeah, there's been no official art.
Because they haven't
even started pre-production.
I got lied to on the internet.
It's never been happened before, but you were the first one, yeah.
It's brand new and happening to me this time.
Yeah.
But yeah. For all of the reasons you said and more, I think he's one of the coolest villains. I think also because he just also has a sick ass costume. Like, he looks cool.
You could do a version of it that's not the big huge armor. Like, you can find like a coolant system that they actually have, and just make that on crack.
Exactly. You know? Like they've already shown so many creative uses of technology in this movie that it's like whatever. Like I would believe pretty much anything they would give me, because they know how to show me the realistic progression of how things work in this.
For a long time, Mr. Freeze was my number one. Like, I wanted him pretty desperately.
Which I think I know who your number one is. But yeah, so he's my number one. I also love his backstory. Mm-hmm. Like, I think, you know, not to mention Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice in this hollowed space. But I really love Bruce having to figure out how other people have relationships, and I think the nature of Mr. Freeze and his wife and everything would be a really interesting emotional beat.
That's a cool idea.
Of that
I like
movie.
that. That's fun.
Yeah. All right, take it away.
Hugo Strange.
Yes, I knew it.
And here's the thing. Here's my pitch. Hugo Strange played by Dave Bautista,
and I want it so bad.
Dave Bautista slimmed down, and he looks so good right now.
I love you, Dave.
Like, Dave Bautista is one of those underrated actors where it's like they always put him as the big menacing dude, but it's like, man, he's got so much range.
He's the thinking man's John Cena.
He is the thinking man's John Cena. Not to bag on. Look, here's
John
the thing.
is a great actor.
John Cena is a great actor, but John Cena is a movie star. Dave Bautista is an actor.
Period.
You know what I mean? And neither is bad, and both are awesome.
Yes.
I think he could play such a menacing, calculating villain. I think he would be the perfect thing to like bring us into the world of the crazies and psychology within this world. I think setting a bunch of this world in Arkham Asylum.
100%.
Or even just like the police have brought in this investigator from Arkham to do this. And so that leads Batman on a path.
Yeah. They're like, this new guy got hired at Arkham and he's kind of weird.
I want it so bad. I want Hugo Strange so bad. I think it would be so fucking awesome.
He is such a fascinating character too. Like he would be so cool to have, especially because he would set up so many other things. Like he is the first domino to a lot of characters, in my opinion.
Yeah, in this world for sure, you could play all of those things, right? Like you could really follow that down in a great way.
He's so cool.
I want him.
Dave Bautista. Yeah. Doctor Strange.
But then here's the thing.
It's awesome.
The other thing I really need is like a physical threat for Batman. Like this movie, there was nobody really like the only time his life was ever fully in danger is when he got caught off guard.
Yeah.
I need him to fight like a Deadshot or a Deathstroke.
Yes.
Or some kind
Bane,
of monster.
Get some Bane in there.
Yeah, Bane somebody, right? And I think that's a great way to do it is Hugo Strange's whatever his plot may be to find out who Batman is, to manipulate whatever it may be. He uses people in Arkham to send after Batman.
Yeah.
Right. And you could just have, Batman at the beginning of the movie, Batman takes down Deadshot and drops him off at Arkham Asylum or Blackgate. And then
I love Deadshot.
Inexplicably gets broken out and blah, 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 whatever happens. Now
we've already seen how easy it is to break out of prison and go.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And so then he comes after Batman.
Which is one of my favorite tweets about the Penguin was like, this is established an important part of any given Batman universe, which is how easy it is to break out of prison.
When Salvatore broke out. It's great. Anyway, that's my number one. I think it is. And the last question I will ask about the Batman is, do you want Robin?
Yes.
I want Robin so bad.
That's not even a question. That's just a thing every day of my life. I look in the mirror and I go, do I need Robin today? And the answer is always yes.
I think it would fit so well because this Batman is so not ready for that. It would be perfect.
I want to see that man fail at parenting a child that he is only like 10 to 15 years older than.
Yeah, I want it so bad. I want Robin so bad. And it can be done and it should be done. Anyway.
Matthew Reeves. Matthew, middle name Reeves.
Yeah.
Listen to me now. I want Bruce Wayne to get an invitation to Haley's Circus coming to town.
Precisely.
And I want him to see two acrobats fall and hit the ground and die in front of their child. Okay? Thank you.
I'm a little scared of you right now.
I need that. We need that. Okay? One day, a Nightwing live action movie. One day.
It'll happen. She cries about this once a week, guys. It's
I
okay.
do,
because
I want it. I want that.
I want that.
Anyways, lessons?
Yeah, lessons. I should have done this in the other direction. Lessons. It's kind of hard because we talked a lot about this in My Hero of like, don't let the genre dictate the quality of writing. But I just want to talk about writing. This movie it feels like a big movie.
This 8 to 9 hour long movie.
Yeah. It does so much with parallels in a way that makes it feel almost like anime, where like anime is such a parallel
100%.
storytelling medium, right? The way the
callbacks are very important.
Callbacks are very important. Characters being similar but having gone down different paths are very important. The parallels in this, the like setups and payoffs of all of those things throughout for every single character, right? We talk about Vic not wanting to be a nameless guy, and that's what Oz does to him. His mom not wanting to be in a vegetative state.
Yes.
That's what happens to her. Her worst fear is not death, but being back, and that happens to her, right?
Yeah.
All of these things set up and pay off in such interesting ways, but they're all parallels to one another.
100%.
Like setups and payoffs don't have to be parallels. You can just, look, if you set up that the gun is going off, the gun has to go off.
Yeah.
This is setting up very subtle and very overt things and paying them off throughout. Like, I feel like if I went back and watched this, I would just one after another find new things. And that's 100%. My lesson is take into account those things with writing.
I think it's a great lesson.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mine is that this is how to write female characters.
Oh, fascinating. I love that. That's what happens when you have a female showrunner.
That's what happens when you have a female showrunner. Crazy how when you let women tell stories, they like do a good job. Whatever.
That is a wild
That's
thing.
crazy. I'm very much looking forward to whatever she decides to do next. I will have to keep an eye out on her because I want to see what she makes.
She just signed a big deal with HBO. So my guess is she'll do another
good
one of these
her.
Batman shows. Hopefully the Selena
Sophia,
thank you. So the Selena and Sophia one.
I need that.
But if not, I'm watching whatever she makes next because she's great.
Awesome. But the way that every woman in this show has a different motivation, has a different way of getting there, and has a different obstacle is something that I think everyone needs to learn from.
It is like the exact opposite of surface level. You know
yes,
what I mean?
like there's no like, which I really love that there is some romantic tension in the Batman, which is always fun.
I think there's a lot.
How could you not with the Bat and the Cat?
There's
a lot
the
of
scene when she's trying to like convince him to do stuff. Robert Pattinson famously he's like, it's quite romantic, isn't it? and Matt Reeves is like, yes, it is.
The scene where he's putting the contacts in and she's sitting there like, oh.
Yeah. And
which if you've ever been a short lady and a tall man is fixing something for you and you're sitting there like, oh, you get it. He's right there. But yeah, like I so greatly appreciate that there is no romance in this besides Vic and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And even then she's not like, and I'll stay here for you, honey, in this place that sucks.
Yeah, she leaves.
She's like, well, I'm going. You can come with me if you want. There is not a single woman in the show that doesn't go after what she wants.
Yeah.
Which is so incredible and so phenomenal to see, especially because they all have different wants. They're not all looking for the same thing and doing the same thing to get there.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah. And as we've famously said in many episodes of this, for female characters to be good, sometimes things have to be their fault.
Yeah.
And a lot of things are a lot of women's fault in this show.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's my lesson.
That's a great lesson.
Thank you.
Recommendations?
I already mentioned it. Telltale Batman.
Great game.
Which also apparently heavily inspired this universe because Matt Reeves apparently really likes it. And then when I was watching a video when the Batman came out, Robert Pattinson and Paul Dano were like, "Yo, we love that game," which I just think is like, those are my best.
I was never more wrong than when I said Robert Pattinson would make a great Batman, but he's going to hate all of the universe bullshit. And then he comes out and he's talking about comics I haven't read. And I'm like...
And you're like, whoa, did he just walk the walk?
Yeah, I was like, fuck, I love you.
But yeah, Telltale Batman for a topical one. What else have I been up to lately? We just saw a movie called Your Monster that I'm like obsessed with right now. What?
Which movie is this?
Your Monster with Melissa Barrera.
That's right. Sorry. I've watched a lot of movies.
Spencer watches a lot of movies.
My brain doesn't work good.
Which is a movie about an actress and her boyfriend who she helped write his new musical. Who sucks? Breaks up with her when she gets cancer. And then she has this monster living in her closet because she has to move back home. And they just shenanigans ensue. It was great. Laugh out loud. Melissa Barrera, you're a star. You got a star maker quality, honey.
Yep.
What else have we watched lately? Conclave. Really loved Conclave. Really Conclave is like reading glass movie of the year. So many reading glasses.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cardinals hitting the vape, like gossipy bitch drama. I don't know what else to tell you guys. You got to go see Conclave, and that's a movie you can actually take your family to all go see. Yeah, that's what I got.
Good recommendations.
Thank you.
Just a bunch of Batman stuff. I believe it's called Batman Imposter. I think it's called Imposter. It's a 3-part series written by the guy who is co-writing the Batman Part 2 and helped write part of Batman.
What's his name?
Mattson Tomlin. Really interesting writer. He seems like a cool dude. He wrote that. It's a good Batman comic. It's not like my favorite thing in the world, but it's a cool like Elseworlds Batman, where they like slightly skew the canon in fun ways. It's a good one. Nightwing by Tom Taylor, one of the best books ever. Kingdom Come by Mark Waid. I'm gonna get roasted for that one. I think it's Mark Waid. Batman: The Long Halloween. Harleen is a great one, as well as Harley Quinn: Mad Love.
Is that the one that's Harleen is the one that's like the more serious take on Mad Love?
Yes, it's brilliant. It's so good. Batman Hush is one I really want to reread. People have very hot opinions. I liked it the first time I read it, but
we haven't even discussed how Hush might play in all this either.
No joke. People have a lot of opinions on that. Batman Under the Red Hood, the movie specifically.
Jensen Ackles, the man that you are.
Jensen Ackles, the man that you are. So good. Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
And Bruce Greenwood.
Great Batman. And also I want to recommend Batman versus the Ninja Turtles, which is just a bucket of fun. But seriously, ultimately, go watch the Batman, go watch the Penguin, and go watch Batman the Animated Series.
Seminal texts. And we're not even joking. I'm not saying that jokingly.
Not even a little. Anyway, I think that's the episode. You have a bunch of stuff to watch. You got a bunch of stuff to listen to and see and read. And yeah, you should go do those things.
Unless there's...
Or don't.
Something in the way.
I don't know. Live your life. That one got a little out of there.